The Woman in the Shadows. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Neighbor. The quiet suburb of Cedar Grove had always been a place of predictability. Neat lawns, friendly waves, and the gentle hum of daily life made it a refuge from the chaos of the outside world. Yet, as the summer sun began to set, a new chapter was about to unfold, one that would unravel the tranquility of this otherwise ordinary community. Emma Parker had lived in Cedar Grove for the better part of a decade. A schoolteacher with a passion for literature, she had always enjoyed the simplicity of her life. Her home was a charming Victorian, complete with a wraparound porch and flower beds that she tended with care. It was the perfect place for someone seeking solace from the demands of the world. But lately, Emma had noticed something unusual. The house across the street, which had long been vacant, had recently been occupied. It wasn't the new occupants themselves that intrigued her. It was the odd hours they kept and the mysterious comings and goings. The house, a dilapidated structure that had once belonged to an elderly widow, had been sold to a young couple, or so the neighborhood had been told. It was during one of her evening walks that Emma first saw the woman in the shadows. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the street, Emma caught a glimpse of a figure moving swiftly through the overgrown yard of the house. The woman was dressed in dark clothing, her face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. She moved with a purposeful stride, disappearing into the darkness before Emma could get a clear look. Emma's curiosity was piqued. The woman's presence was a stark contrast to the usual neighborhood bustle. It wasn't long before rumors began to circulate. Some neighbors claimed to have seen strange lights at odd hours, while others reported hearing unexplained noises coming from the house. The once quiet street was now abuzz with speculation. As days passed, Emma's curiosity grew into a fascination. She found herself drawn to the house and its enigmatic occupants. She would often find excuses to pass by, hoping to catch another glimpse of the mysterious woman. Her routine changed. She began to take longer walks, meandering through the neighborhood with a sense of purpose. One afternoon, while watering her flowers, Emma noticed the woman again. This time, she was standing at the edge of the property, looking intently at the overgrown garden. Emma hesitated, unsure whether to approach or remain hidden behind her fence. She decided to stay silent, observing from a distance. The woman's actions were peculiar. She seemed to be searching for something among the weeds, her movements deliberate yet frantic. Emma watched as she pulled out a small, weathered box from the soil. The woman clutched the box tightly, glancing around as if fearful of being seen. Intrigued, Emma decided to investigate further. She began to piece together the clues from her observations. She learned that the house had a history of secrecy and intrigue. It was said that the previous owner had been involved in mysterious activities, and the property had always carried an air of unease. One evening, as Emma sat in her living room, she saw the woman again. This time, she was standing on the porch of the house, her back to Emma. It was clear that something was troubling her. Emma watched as the woman paced back and forth, her movements agitated. She could feel the tension in the air, a sense that something significant was about to happen. The next morning, Emma decided to visit the local library to research the history of the house. She hoped to find some information that might explain the strange occurrences. As she sifted through old records and newspaper clippings, she discovered that the house had been the center of several unsolved mysteries over the years. The more Emma learned, the more she felt a sense of urgency. There was something unsettling about the house and its new occupants. She couldn't shake the feeling that the woman in the shadows was connected to something far more sinister than mere curiosity. As she returned to her home, Emma resolved to keep a closer watch on the house. She knew that whatever was happening across the street was only the beginning of a larger mystery. The once quiet suburb of Cedar Grove had been irrevocably changed, and Emma was determined to uncover the truth behind the woman in the shadows. Chapter 2. The Hidden Agenda. Emma Parker's obsession with the mysterious woman across the street had reached a new level. Every creak of the old house, every rustle of the leaves in the overgrown garden, seemed to fuel her growing anxiety. The once peaceful street of Cedar Grove had taken on a sinister aura, and Emma felt as though she was on the brink of discovering something monumental.
Her research at the library had yielded little concrete information. The house's history was shrouded in vague references and rumors, but nothing that could explain the current unease. Undeterred, Emma decided to delve into other avenues. She began keeping a detailed journal of everything she observed, hoping that the accumulated details might reveal a pattern or lead. One chilly evening, as Emma sat in her living room with her journal spread out before her, she heard the familiar sound of footsteps on the street. She peered out of her window and saw the woman again, standing on the sidewalk. This time, she was accompanied by a man who Emma had not seen before. The two spoke in hushed tones, their conversation punctuated by occasional glances around, as if ensuring they were not overheard. Emma strained to hear their conversation, but the sound of the evening traffic made it difficult. The woman's voice was soft and hurried, while the man's tone was more authoritative. After a few minutes, they parted ways, the woman disappearing into the shadows of her yard, and the man heading down the street. Determined to find out more, Emma decided to follow the man discreetly. She kept her distance, blending into the darkness as best as she could. The man's route was winding and seemingly aimless, but eventually, he arrived at a dilapidated warehouse on the edge of town. Emma watched from a safe distance as he entered the building. With her curiosity piqued, Emma knew she needed to learn more about this warehouse. She made a mental note of its location and decided to return during the day for further investigation. Her thoughts were racing, trying to piece together the connections between the house, the mysterious woman, and the man. The next morning, Emma returned to the library to search for any records about the warehouse. The building had a history of being a storage facility for various businesses over the decades, but nothing that stood out as particularly interesting. Emma's frustration was mounting. She felt as though she was grasping at shadows, with each lead leading to more questions than answers. As she walked back home, Emma passed by the house again. The woman was in the garden, still clutching the small box she had unearthed. Emma's heart raced as she watched the woman open the box and pull out a series of old documents. She was clearly intent on something important. Emma waited until the woman retreated into the house before approaching the garden. With her heart pounding, she carefully examined the area where the box had been buried. To her surprise, she found a small, partially buried object. It was a metal locket, tarnished and old. Emma picked it up, her fingers trembling with anticipation. She examined the locket closely and found an inscription on the back. "To my dearest, forever yours." The initials were too faint to read, but the locket seemed to hold sentimental value. Emma's mind raced with possibilities. Could this locket be connected to the mysterious woman or the secrets hidden within the house? Emma decided to visit the house again, this time with a more determined approach. She planned to confront the woman and ask about the locket, hoping to uncover more about her hidden agenda. Her plan was risky, but she felt she had little choice if she wanted to get to the bottom of the mystery. As evening approached, Emma took a deep breath and walked across the street to the house. She hesitated at the door, her hand hovering over the bell. Gathering her courage, she pressed it and waited. The door creaked open slowly, revealing the woman standing on the threshold. Emma introduced herself and explained that she had found the locket in the garden. She tried to sound casual, but her nerves were evident. The woman's expression shifted from surprise to suspicion as she took the locket from Emma's hand. "Thank you," the woman said, her voice cold. "I'm not sure how this ended up in the garden." Emma noticed that the woman's demeanor had changed. She seemed more guarded and less willing to engage in conversation. The woman quickly closed the door, leaving Emma standing on the porch, feeling more unsettled than ever. As Emma walked back to her home, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The events of the evening had only deepened the mystery. What was the significance of the locket? And why was the woman so defensive? Emma knew that she was now entangled in something far more complex than she had anticipated. The quiet streets of Cedar Grove were no longer a refuge, but a stage for a hidden drama that was slowly unfolding. The shadows held secrets, and Emma was determined to uncover them, no matter where they led. Chapter 3. The Secret Passage. The days following Emma's encounter with the mysterious woman were filled with a growing sense of unease. The locket, now tucked safely in her drawer, seemed to pulse with significance, though its meaning remained elusive. Emma's interactions with her neighbors had become more strained, her previous friendly demeanor replaced with a cautious wariness. The quiet life she once enjoyed had become a series of anxious observations and unanswered questions. One afternoon, as Emma sipped her tea and stared out of her window, she noticed something peculiar. The woman from across the street was once again in the garden, but this time she appeared to be working on something near the foundation of the house. She was digging with a determined vigor, her movements hurried and precise. Emma squinted to get a better look but was unable to discern exactly what was happening. Unable to contain her curiosity, Emma decided to take a walk around the block, hoping to gain a clearer view of the woman's activities. As she strolled past the house, she noticed that the woman had left behind a small pile of freshly dug earth. Emma's eyes were drawn to a gap in the garden's stone wall, just large enough for her to squeeze through. It seemed too coincidental to ignore. With her heart racing, Emma slipped through the gap and into the garden. The woman's earlier activity had disturbed the area enough to reveal an old wooden hatch partially hidden beneath the overgrown foliage. The hatch was weathered and partially obscured by dirt, but Emma could clearly see that it was a trapdoor leading to the unknown. Her hands trembled as she pulled at the hatch, which creaked open with a groan. Emma peered down into the darkness, her curiosity battling with the fear of what she might find. The opening led to a narrow staircase that descended into the shadows below. The air was cool and musty, a stark contrast to the warmth of the summer afternoon. Emma hesitated only briefly before descending the stairs. Each step was careful and measured, the only sound her footsteps echoing in the confined space. As she reached the bottom, she found herself in a dimly lit room, illuminated by the faintest slivers of light that filtered through cracks in the walls. The room was small and filled with old, dusty furniture and various crates stacked haphazardly. A single flickering light bulb cast eerie shadows across the walls. Emma's eyes were drawn to a desk in the corner, covered with papers and old books. The desk appeared to be the focal point of the room, and she approached it with a mix of trepidation and excitement. On the desk lay a series of maps and documents, their edges yellowed with age. Emma carefully picked up one of the maps, which depicted the layout of the house and its surroundings. The map was intricately detailed, with annotations and symbols that hinted at hidden passages and secret rooms. Her eyes widened as she realized that the house's layout was far more complex than she had initially thought. Among the papers, Emma found a journal, its cover worn and the pages filled with handwritten notes. She flipped through the journal, her eyes scanning the cramped, neat handwriting. The entries were written in a mixture of English and coded symbols, making it difficult to understand the full content. However, a few passages stood out, mentioning a great discovery and references to ancient knowledge. Emma's mind raced as she pieced together the information. It became clear that the woman's activities were part of a larger, more intricate plan. The hidden room was not merely a storage space, but a key element in whatever secret was being uncovered. Just as Emma was about to examine further, she heard the sound of footsteps above. Panic surged through her as she realized that the woman had returned. She quickly grabbed the journal and a few other documents, hiding them in her bag before making her way back up the stairs. She replaced the hatch, covering it with dirt and foliage to avoid detection. With her heart pounding, Emma slipped back through the gap in the wall and hurried to her house. She had narrowly avoided being caught, but the discovery of the hidden room had only deepened the mystery. What was the significance of the maps and the journal? And what was the woman seeking in the depths of her home? As Emma reviewed the journal and the documents in the safety of her living room, she realized that she was now involved in something far beyond a simple neighborhood curiosity. The hidden passage and its secrets were linked to a much larger and potentially dangerous mystery. Emma knew that she needed to be cautious but also resolved to uncover the truth. The shadows that had once seemed so benign were now fraught with danger and intrigue. With every step she took, Emma felt she was drawing closer to unraveling a truth that could change everything she knew about her seemingly peaceful life. Chapter 4. The Unexpected Visitor. The discovery of the hidden passage and the mysterious journal left Emma with a whirlwind of questions. The significance of the documents and the strange behavior of her neighbor had piqued her curiosity to a level she hadn't anticipated. She needed to understand the full scope of what she had uncovered, but she was also increasingly aware of the risks involved. The following day, Emma decided to visit the local historical society to seek more information about the house and its possible connections to historical events. She hoped that by understanding the historical context, she might shed light on the mysterious symbols and coded entries in the journal. The historical society was housed in a charming, old building on the edge of town, and its archives were filled with a wealth of information about the area. Upon arriving, Emma was greeted by Sarah, a knowledgeable and friendly archivist who had worked at the Historical Society for years. Sarah was eager to help and directed Emma to a section of the archive that contained records on the local area's historical properties. Emma spent hours poring over old documents, property records, and blueprints. She found references to the house on Cedar Grove Street, but nothing that explicitly mentioned secret passages or hidden rooms. Frustrated but undeterred, she continued her search, hoping that something might provide a clue. As she was about to leave, Sarah approached her with a curious expression. "I found something interesting while organizing the old maps," Sarah said. "It's a record of a private collector who is interested in local historical artifacts. I thought it might be worth your time to check it out." Emma accepted the information gratefully and reviewed the record. It mentioned a local historian named Jonathan Marsh, who had lived in the area decades ago and had amassed a collection of rare documents and artifacts related to the town's history. Marsh's collection was reputed to include items related to secret societies and ancient symbols. Emma decided to visit the address listed for Jonathan Marsh, which turned out to be a modest house on the outskirts of town. As she approached, she was met by an elderly man who introduced himself as Samuel Marsh, Jonathan's son. Samuel was a retired professor with a keen interest in his father's work and was more than willing to help Emma with her inquiries. Samuel invited Emma into his study, which was filled with books, maps, and old artifacts. Emma explained her findings, showing Samuel the journal and the maps she had discovered. Samuel listened intently, his eyes widening as he examined the documents. "This is fascinating," Samuel said after a while. "My father was indeed involved with various secret societies and was known to have researched ancient codes and symbols. He wrote several papers on these topics, which might help explain some of the symbols and references in your documents." Samuel pulled out a box of old papers and began sorting through them. He eventually found a manuscript that detailed a secret society linked to the town's early history. The manuscript included illustrations of symbols and diagrams that closely matched the ones in Emma's journal. As Samuel and Emma examined the manuscript, Samuel revealed that the society's aim was to preserve ancient knowledge and secrets. The symbols and coded messages in the manuscript were part of a complex system used to protect and convey important information. The house on Cedar Grove Street might be one of the key locations associated with this society, Samuel suggested. It could be a repository for the secrets they intended to safeguard. Emma's mind raced with this new information. The woman's actions and the hidden passage were starting to make more sense. It seemed that she was part of a long-standing tradition or group with deep historical roots. Emma thanked Samuel for his help and promised to keep him updated on her findings. As she left Samuel's house, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. She now had a clearer understanding of the context surrounding the hidden passage and the documents she had found. The Historical Society's records and Samuel's insights had provided her with crucial pieces of the puzzle. Back at home, Emma reviewed the manuscript and the journal again, trying to connect the dots. She noticed that the symbols and references in the documents were beginning to form a coherent narrative about the Society's activities and their hidden agenda. Later that evening, as Emma was working on deciphering the journal's coded entries, she heard a knock at her door. She opened it to find a delivery man holding a package. The package was addressed to her, but there was no return address. Emma carefully opened the package and found a small, ornate box inside. The box was similar in design to the locket she had found earlier. Inside, there was a note written in an elegant script. "Your curiosity has been noted. Proceed with caution." Emma's heart skipped a beat as she realized that someone was watching her closely. The note's message was clear. Her investigation had attracted attention, and the stakes were higher than ever. With the new box and its ominous message, Emma felt a mix of trepidation and determination. The mystery was deepening, and she was now entangled in a web of secrets and dangers that she could not ignore. Emma knew she had to proceed carefully, but was more resolved than ever to uncover the truth behind the shadows. Chapter 5. The Hidden Chamber. Emma's nights were becoming restless. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the mysterious symbols from the journal, the secret passage beneath her neighbor's garden, and the ominous note that had arrived with the ornate box. The house on Cedar Grove Street seemed to hold secrets that were both tantalizing and frightening. Determined to unravel the enigma, Emma spent the following days deciphering the journal's coded entries and exploring every clue she had gathered. The next step in her investigation led her back to the house. Emma was convinced that the hidden passage had to be more than just a random storage space. There had to be more to the house's secrets. She decided to return to the garden and explore further, hoping to find another hidden feature or clue. Early one morning, when the sun was just beginning to rise, Emma slipped through the gap in the garden wall once again. She carefully removed the dirt and foliage from the hatch and descended the stairs into the dimly lit room. The documents and the journal lay spread out on the desk where she had left them. Emma noticed that one of the maps had a peculiar mark on it, a symbol that was not present on the other documents. It looked like an ancient key intertwined with a serpent. Her heart raced as she realized that this symbol might indicate another hidden feature in the house. She took out her phone and began photographing the map for further analysis. As Emma studied the symbol, she noticed something peculiar about the room's walls. There were faint lines and markings that seemed to form a pattern, as though they were part of a larger design. She examined the walls more closely, tracing her fingers over the lines. To her surprise, she found a small, inconspicuous switch embedded in the wall. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, Emma pressed the switch. The wall shifted slightly, revealing a hidden panel that slid open to expose a narrow, dark corridor. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she peered into the corridor, which seemed to extend deep into the heart of the house. She took a deep breath and entered the corridor, which was dimly lit by flickering sconces mounted on the walls. The corridor was lined with shelves filled with old books, strange artifacts, and mysterious objects. Emma's curiosity was piqued by the sight of these items, which appeared to be relics from different eras and cultures. At the end of the corridor, Emma found another door, this one adorned with intricate carvings and the same serpent key symbol she had seen on the map. She carefully opened the door, revealing a large, hidden chamber. The chamber was filled with a wealth of historical treasures, ancient manuscripts, ornate jewelry, and artifacts that seemed to span centuries. Emma's eyes widened as she took in the sight. The chamber was a veritable treasure trove of historical and possibly priceless items. Her gaze was drawn to a central pedestal in the middle of the room, upon which rested an ancient tome bound in leather. The tome was embossed with the same serpent key symbol, its cover adorned with elaborate patterns. Emma approached the pedestal and carefully opened the tome. The pages were filled with handwritten text, ancient scripts, and illustrations. Some of the text was in a language she didn't recognize, while others were written in a code similar to the one in the journal. Emma began to decipher the text, realizing that it contained valuable information about the secret society and their hidden knowledge. As she was engrossed in her examination, Emma heard a faint noise coming from the corridor. Her heart raced as she quickly closed the tome and hid it under her jacket. She turned off the lights and moved stealthily towards the door, her pulse quickening with every step. Emma peered into the corridor and saw the faint glow of a flashlight approaching. She held her breath, trying to remain as still as possible. The footsteps grew louder, and Emma could make out the silhouette of a figure moving cautiously down the corridor. Her mind raced as she considered her options. If she was caught, everything she had uncovered could be at risk. Emma waited in the shadows, hoping that the figure would pass by without discovering her presence. The figure drew closer and stopped just outside the hidden chamber's door. Emma could see a man dressed in dark clothing, holding a flashlight and examining the surroundings. It was clear that he was searching for something, and Emma's heart sank as she realized that he might be connected to the mysterious activities she had uncovered. Emma held her breath, praying that she wouldn't be discovered. The man seemed to grow impatient, and after a few moments, he turned and walked back down the corridor. Emma waited until she was sure he was gone before making her way back to the hidden chamber. With the danger past, Emma resumed her examination of the chamber and the ancient tome. She carefully noted down the key passages and symbols, determined to uncover the full extent of the hidden knowledge. As Emma prepared to leave, she knew that the discovery of the hidden chamber was a significant breakthrough. The chamber's contents provided crucial insights into the secret society and their agenda. However, the presence of the unknown man and the threats associated with the hidden knowledge meant that Emma had to proceed with caution. Emma carefully replaced the tome on the pedestal and made her way back through the corridor, sealing the hidden panel and replacing the hatch in the garden. She knew that her investigation was far from over and that there were still many questions to answer. As she left the house and returned to her own home, Emma felt a renewed sense of determination. The hidden chamber had provided valuable information, but it also revealed the dangers and complexities of the mystery she was unraveling. Emma was more committed than ever to uncovering the truth, no matter where it might lead. Chapter 6. The Unseen Watcher. Emma's discoveries in the hidden chamber were both exhilarating and unsettling. The ancient tome and the artifacts had provided her with crucial information about the secret society, but the appearance of the mysterious man in the corridor had raised new concerns. She needed to understand the significance of the tome and the artifacts and to ensure her safety as she continued her investigation. The following day, Emma decided to return to the Historical Society to consult with Sarah again. She hoped that Sarah might be able to provide more context or connections to the artifacts she had found. Armed with notes from the tome and photographs of the artifacts, Emma prepared for her visit. When Emma arrived at the Historical Society, Sarah greeted her warmly. Emma explained the recent developments and shared her findings with Sarah. Sarah listened attentively, her curiosity piqued by the details Emma provided. "This is fascinating," Sarah said as she reviewed the photographs and notes. "The artifacts and symbols you've described suggest connections to ancient rituals and secret societies. I've heard of similar symbols before, but I've never seen them documented like this." Emma showed Sarah the photographs of the tome's pages, particularly the coded entries and ancient scripts. Sarah examined them closely, her eyes widening with recognition. "I think I might have seen some references to these symbols in old archives," Sarah said thoughtfully. "There's a chance that these artifacts could be linked to a historical event or figure that was significant to the area. Let me dig through our archives to see if I can find anything that matches." Sarah set to work, rummaging through old records and documents. Meanwhile, Emma took a seat in the reading room, her mind racing with thoughts of the hidden chamber and the mysterious man. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched or followed. As Emma waited, she noticed a man in his late 30s, dressed in a business suit, entering the historical society. He seemed out of place among the usual patrons and appeared to be searching for something specific. Emma observed him discreetly, sensing that he might be connected to the recent disturbances. The man approached Sarah and engaged her in conversation, his demeanor polite but assertive. Emma couldn't hear their conversation but noticed that Sarah seemed uncomfortable. After a brief discussion, the man left, leaving Sarah looking troubled. Emma approached Sarah after the man had departed. "Is everything all right?" she asked gently. Sarah sighed, her expression worried. That man was asking about rare historical artifacts and secret societies. He seemed very interested in the same type of symbols and documents you've been researching. I couldn't get a clear read on his intentions, but his presence here was unusual. Emma's heart sank. The man's interest in the artifacts and symbols suggested that he might be connected to the mysterious activities she had encountered. She thanked Sarah for her help and left the historical society, her mind racing with thoughts of the man and his potential motives. Back at home, Emma decided to review the notes from the tome again, focusing on the sections that described rituals and symbols. The more she read, the clearer it became that the secret society had a complex and secretive agenda, involving hidden knowledge and ancient practices. Emma was interrupted by a knock at her door. She opened it to find a delivery man holding a package. The package was addressed to her, with no return address. Emma's pulse quickened as she took the package and brought it inside. Carefully unwrapping the package, Emma found a small, black box. Inside the box was a single sheet of paper with a cryptic message written in elegant script. "The truth is closer than you think. Beware of false paths." Emma's mind raced as she tried to interpret the message. The note seemed to be a warning or a clue, but its meaning was unclear. She felt a growing sense of unease, realizing that someone or something was actively guiding or obstructing her investigation. Determined to push forward, Emma decided to visit the house on Cedar Grove Street once more. She wanted to ensure that nothing had been tampered with and to investigate any new leads. As she approached the house, she noticed that the garden seemed unusually quiet, and there were no signs of recent activity. Emma carefully entered the house and made her way to the hidden chamber. Everything appeared to be in place, and the tome remained untouched. She took a moment to examine the artifacts again, hoping to find any additional clues that might shed light on the message she had received. As she was about to leave, Emma heard a faint noise from the corridor. Her heart raced as she prepared to investigate. She crept down the corridor and found the same man from the Historical Society standing near the hidden passage. He was examining the walls and seemed to be searching for something. Emma's presence went unnoticed as she carefully retraced her steps and hid behind a stack of old crates. The man continued his search, his movements methodical and focused. Emma could see that he was well prepared, carrying a set of tools and a flashlight. Realizing that the man was likely looking for the same hidden features Emma had discovered, she knew she had to act quickly. She decided to confront him, hoping to gain more information about his intentions and connection to the secret society. As the man finally turned to leave, Emma stepped out from her hiding place and confronted him. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" she demanded. The man's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly composed himself. "I could ask you the same question," he said with a calm demeanor. "I'm an investigator looking into historical artifacts and their significance. It seems we have a mutual interest." Emma studied the man's face, trying to gauge his sincerity. "My name is Emma, and I've been researching the history of this house and its connections to a secret society. What's your interest in these artifacts?" The man hesitated for a moment before responding. "My name is David, and I'm a researcher specializing in historical secrets and lost knowledge. It appears we're both after the same answers. Perhaps we can help each other." Emma was wary but intrigued. "I'm not sure if I can trust you, David. How do I know you're not part of the problem?" David looked at her with a serious expression. I understand your concerns. I've been following the same leads and have encountered similar obstacles. If you're willing to cooperate, we might uncover the truth together. Emma weighed her options carefully. The presence of another investigator could either be an asset or a threat. She decided to take a cautious approach and agreed to work with David, hoping that their combined efforts might lead to new insights. As Emma and David began to discuss their findings, Emma felt a sense of cautious optimism. The investigation was becoming more complex, but with the help of an experienced researcher, she hoped to uncover the secrets hidden in the shadows. Chapter 7. The Hidden Agenda. Emma and David began their collaboration with a sense of urgency. The complexities of their investigation had grown, and they were both determined to uncover the truth behind the mysterious symbols, the secret society, and the hidden agenda that seemed to be guiding their every move. Their first task was to analyze the artifacts and the tome in detail. David brought along some specialized equipment for examining ancient texts and symbols, and they set up a makeshift laboratory in Emma's living room. The room was cluttered with documents, artifacts, and technical equipment, reflecting the intensity of their research. David carefully examined the tome using a magnifying glass and UV light, revealing previously invisible details. He worked silently, his concentration evident. Emma reviewed the photographs and notes from their previous discoveries, cross-referencing them with the newly revealed information. After several hours of meticulous analysis, David looked up with a thoughtful expression. This tome is more than just a historical record. It seems to contain encoded messages and instructions related to the rituals and practices of the secret society. Some of the symbols match those we've seen before, but there are new elements that we need to decode. Emma nodded, her curiosity piqued. What do you suggest we do next? David adjusted his glasses and began outlining a plan. We need to create a comprehensive map of the symbols and their meanings. By doing this, we might uncover the hidden agenda of the society and their ultimate goal. Additionally, we should investigate any historical records or events that might connect these symbols to real-world occurrences. Emma agreed, and they spent the next few days working intensively on their research. They cross-referenced the symbols with historical records, trying to find any patterns or connections that could provide more context. Emma also kept an eye out for any suspicious activity, feeling a growing sense of unease about the mysterious man they had encountered. One evening, as they were working late into the night, Emma received an unexpected phone call. The caller ID displayed an unfamiliar number. She hesitated before answering, wondering if it was related to their investigation. "Hello," Emma said cautiously. A voice on the other end was calm and measured. "Emma, this is Thomas. I've been following your progress and have some important information to share." Emma's heart raced. Thomas was a name she had heard mentioned in connection with the secret society, but she had never met him. "Who are you? And how do you know about my investigation?" Thomas chuckled softly. "I'm a friend and ally, working to uncover the truth behind the secret society's activities. I've been monitoring your research and believe that you've stumbled upon something significant. I can help you, but we need to meet in person." Emma felt a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Why should I trust you?" Thomas's voice was reassuring. "I understand your hesitation. I have information that could be crucial to your investigation. Meet me at the old library downtown, and I'll explain everything." Emma agreed to the meeting and arranged to meet Thomas the following day. As she prepared for the meeting, she shared the details with David, who offered to accompany her for added security. The next afternoon, Emma and David arrived at the old library, a historic building with a grand facade and intricate architectural details. They entered the library and made their way to a secluded reading room, where Thomas awaited them. Thomas was a tall man in his late 40s, dressed in a dark suit. He had an air of authority and confidence, which put Emma on edge. He greeted them with a nod and gestured for them to sit. "Thank you for meeting with me," Thomas said. taking a seat. "I've been following your investigation closely and have valuable information about the secret society." Emma and David listened intently as Thomas explained that he was a researcher with connections to various historical societies and had access to rare documents and records. He revealed that the secret society they were investigating had been active for centuries and was involved in various historical events and power struggles. Thomas produced a folder filled with documents, maps, and photographs. He laid them out on the table, pointing out key symbols and connections. The Society's agenda involves manipulating historical events and controlling hidden knowledge. The symbols you've encountered are part of a larger network of codes and rituals designed to conceal their true intentions. Emma and David reviewed the documents, noting the connections between the symbols and historical events. The information was overwhelming but provided crucial insights into the Society's activities and motives. As the meeting progressed, Thomas revealed that he had identified a key location related to the Society's operations. There's a hidden facility located outside the city, connected to the Society's activities. It's likely that you'll find more answers there. I suggest you investigate this location to uncover the Society's plans.
Emma and David thanked Thomas for his assistance and prepared to investigate the hidden facility. They left the library with a renewed sense of purpose, eager to uncover the next piece of the puzzle. As they drove to the location Thomas had described, Emma felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The investigation was becoming increasingly complex, and the stakes were higher than ever. They arrived at a secluded area on the outskirts of the city, where an old warehouse stood in disrepair. The warehouse appeared abandoned, with boarded-up windows and a rusted door. Emma and David approached cautiously, their senses on high alert. They knew that the hidden facility might hold answers but also posed potential dangers. Emma carefully pried open the door and entered the warehouse. The interior was dusty and dimly lit, with scattered debris and old equipment. They began their search, hoping to find clues related to the secret society's activities. As they explored the warehouse, Emma and David discovered a series of hidden rooms and compartments. Each room contained documents, artifacts, and equipment related to the society's operations. The discovery of these hidden rooms confirmed Thomas's information and provided valuable insights into the society's agenda. Emma and David spent hours documenting their findings and collecting evidence. As they prepared to leave, they realized that their investigation was far from over. The hidden facility had provided important clues, but there were still many unanswered questions and potential threats. Emma felt a sense of determination and resolve. The investigation had led them to new discoveries, and she was more committed than ever to uncovering the truth. With David's help and Thomas's information, Emma was confident that they would continue to unravel the mysteries of the secret society. Chapter 8. The Shadow's Deception. Emma and David returned to their respective homes after their visit to the hidden facility, their minds filled with the gravity of their findings. The documents and artifacts they had recovered pointed to a much larger conspiracy than they had anticipated. The society's influence seemed to reach into various facets of society, controlling and manipulating events from the shadows. Emma spent the night poring over the documents, trying to piece together the fragmented information. The hidden rooms in the warehouse had revealed detailed plans, coded messages, and references to influential figures. It was clear that the society had a far-reaching agenda, but the exact nature of their goals remained elusive. Early the next morning, Emma received a call from David. He sounded urgent and concerned. "Emma, we need to meet immediately. I've discovered something that might change everything." Emma agreed to meet David at a nearby cafe. When she arrived, David was already waiting, his face tense and serious. They exchanged pleasantries before diving into the details of David's recent discovery. "I've been analyzing the documents we found," David began, "and I came across something alarming. There's a reference to an upcoming event that the society is planning. It's described as a major ritual, and it's scheduled to take place soon." Emma's heart raced. What kind of ritual? What's the significance? David pulled out a document and handed it to Emma. The ritual involves a ceremonial gathering of the society's members, and it appears to be connected to a significant historical event. The documents mention an ancient prophecy and a series of symbolic actions that are meant to align with the prophecy's predictions. Emma reviewed the document, which detailed the ritual's components and the symbols involved. The ritual was intricate and seemed to involve both symbolic acts and physical artifacts. The prophecy referenced in the document suggested that the society believed this event would bring about a significant change or revelation. "We need to stop this ritual," Emma said, her voice filled with determination. "If the society is planning something of this magnitude, it could have serious consequences. We need to find out where and when this event is taking place and intervene before it's too late." David nodded in agreement. "I've been trying to trace the location mentioned in the documents, but it's been challenging. The society has been very secretive about their operations. However, I think we might have a lead." David handed Emma another document, which contained an address and a series of cryptic instructions. This address is linked to a location that matches some of the descriptions in the documents. It's worth investigating. Emma and David decided to follow the lead immediately. They drove to the address, which led them to a remote mansion on the outskirts of the city. The mansion was secluded, with high fences and security cameras, giving it an air of exclusivity and secrecy.
They parked a short distance away and approached the mansion cautiously. The property was surrounded by dense woods, providing cover for their approach. Emma and David crept through the forest, keeping low to avoid detection. As they neared the mansion, they could see lights and hear faint music coming from inside. It appeared that the society was already preparing for the ritual. Emma and David exchanged worried glances, knowing that time was of the essence. They found a hidden vantage point where they could observe the mansion and its surroundings. Through a set of binoculars, Emma noticed a group of individuals dressed in elaborate robes and masks, gathering around a central area in the mansion's courtyard. The scene was eerily reminiscent of the ritual described in the documents. Emma and David remained hidden, taking note of the details and the participants. The ritual was clearly underway, and the society members were engaged in various ceremonial actions, including the use of symbols and artifacts that matched those they had encountered earlier. Emma felt a growing sense of urgency. "We need to find a way to disrupt this ritual or alert the authorities. If we can expose the society's activities, it might prevent them from achieving their goals." David agreed. "I'll stay here and keep an eye on the proceedings. You should try to find a way inside the mansion and gather more evidence. We need to document everything to ensure that the society's plans are exposed." Emma nodded and began devising a plan to infiltrate the mansion. She located a side entrance that appeared to be less guarded and decided to use it as her point of entry. She carefully approached the entrance, avoiding the security cameras and using a set of tools to bypass the lock. Once inside the mansion, Emma moved stealthily through the dimly lit corridors, trying to avoid detection. She navigated her way to the courtyard, where the ritual was taking place. From her vantage point, she could see the society members performing complex rituals and making use of the artifacts they had discovered. Emma took photographs and recorded video footage of the ritual, ensuring that she captured every detail. She knew that this evidence would be crucial in exposing the society's activities and preventing them from succeeding in their plans. As Emma continued her documentation, she heard footsteps approaching. She quickly hid behind a set of curtains and held her breath as a group of society members passed by. They were discussing the ritual and its significance, their voices low and conspiratorial. Once the coast was clear, Emma resumed her work and finished documenting the ritual. She then made her way back to the side entrance and rejoined David, who was still observing from their vantage point. They discussed their findings and prepared to leave the area. Emma felt a sense of accomplishment but knew that their work was far from over. They had gathered critical evidence, but they needed to ensure that it was brought to the attention of the authorities and the public. As they left the mansion and returned to their respective homes, Emma felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. The ritual had been exposed, but the society's influence and reach were still formidable. With the evidence they had collected, Emma and David were determined to see the investigation through to the end and ensure that the society's activities were brought to light. Chapter 9. The Final Confrontation. The night following their infiltration of the mansion was tense. Emma and David knew that the evidence they had collected was crucial, but they also realized that exposing the secret society's activities would be a formidable task. They needed a strategy to ensure their findings reached the right people and that the society could not retaliate. The following morning, Emma met with David at his apartment to discuss their next steps. They were both exhausted but driven by the urgency of their mission. "I've reviewed the footage and documents we gathered," David said, pacing the room. "The evidence is damning, but we need to present it in a way that will be taken seriously. We should approach a reputable journalist or news organization that can help us get the story out." Emma agreed. "We need to find someone who can handle sensitive information and has the resources to investigate further. It's crucial that the society's activities are exposed to the public, and we need to be careful to avoid any potential backlash." David suggested contacting an investigative journalist he knew from his previous work. "I have a contact named Laura Mitchell who specializes in uncovering corruption and hidden agendas. She might be interested in our findings and could help us bring the society's activities to light." Emma and David reached out to Laura Mitchell, arranging a meeting to present their evidence. They spent the next few hours preparing a detailed report, including the photographs, video footage, and documents from their investigation. Laura Mitchell was a seasoned journalist with a keen eye for uncovering hidden truths. When Emma and David met with her, they presented their findings and explained the significance of their discoveries. Laura listened intently, her expression growing more serious as she reviewed the evidence. "This is extraordinary," Laura said after reviewing the materials. "The scope of the secret society's influence and the details of their ritual are deeply concerning. I'm interested in pursuing this story, but we need to be cautious. The society has significant resources and could try to suppress the information." Emma nodded. "We're aware of the risks, but we believe it's important to expose the truth. We'll cooperate fully and provide any additional information or support you need." Laura agreed to take on the story and promised to handle it with the utmost care. She began her investigation by corroborating the evidence and reaching out to her network of sources. Emma and David stayed in touch with Laura, providing updates and assisting with additional research. As Laura's investigation progressed, the story began to gain traction. News outlets started reporting on the revelations, and public interest grew. The secret society's activities were being scrutinized, and there was a growing demand for accountability. The society, however, was not idle. Emma and David began receiving anonymous threats, and their personal security became a concern. They took precautions to protect themselves, including changing their contact information and being vigilant about their surroundings. Despite the threats, Laura's reporting continued to expose the society's activities. The media coverage led to a series of investigations by law enforcement agencies, and the society's influence began to wane. High-profile arrests were made, and key figures within the society were brought to justice. As the investigation unfolded, Emma and David reflected on their journey. They had started with a simple mystery and uncovered a complex web of deception and manipulation. Their collaboration and determination had led to significant revelations and had contributed to bringing the secret society's activities to light. One evening, as Emma and David sat together reviewing the progress of the investigations, they felt a sense of accomplishment and closure. The society's plans had been thwarted, and their work had made a difference. Emma looked at David and said, "We've come a long way from where we started. It's been a challenging journey, but I'm grateful for the partnership and the chance to uncover the truth." David smiled. "It's been an incredible experience. I'm glad we were able to make a difference and ensure that justice was served." As they wrapped up their reflections, Emma and David knew that their work was far from over. The investigation had revealed deeper layers of corruption and hidden agendas, and there were still many stories to be told. They remained committed to their mission, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their journey had strengthened their resolve and deepened their understanding of the world's hidden truths. The end. If you enjoyed our story, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications.